Let's say if I want to do something else, I say activate, let's say get costs. All right. Let's say if I want to do something else, let's say I want to do app mesh, and then let's say create route. Okay, so that was cool. So we've seen how it works. We have a service. We pick a service from a list, and then from that list, we get all of the actions. So before you go any deeper, let's just understand what's the whole point of this anyway. So when I'm working on creating policies for AWS, I like to actually just pull in the services and actions directly into my JSON file as I'm typing. So the reason what that script is doing is it's going to give you back a service, right? So in this case, it's DynamoDB. And then these are my actions: delete item, get item, put item, update item. And this is saying allow the resource for this particular table, my Dynamo table, to have these actions of delete, get, put, update for the DynamoDB. And then there's a different condition down here. And a different example, we have like an S3 service has a put object ACL. ACL just stands for access control list. And we have a different one here for EC2 service and get console screenshot. So as you can see, when you're starting to create your policies, you can have so many different variations of how you want your policy to be, depending on what your use case is. Now you can go into AWS and use their policy generator to do this, but I prefer to do everything inside of them and just write it out and put a command and then just have it allow me to select the service, allow me to select the action. So let's first start off with where we're getting this information from. So AWS has this HTML accessible site, which is going to be pointing to a policy.js file, and it's literally going to pull in this information. Now, this information is a lot of information. It's all on one line. So when you start scrolling, you're like, whoa, that's a lot of stuff. When you scroll down quicker, you get to the end, of course. So how do we pull this out? So the easiest way I found was using Regex 101, and I pretty much already have done that. I paste in all of the information from that file to right here. So now I'm able to go in and start pulling out information. So first, let me just show you if I were to look for something like Lambda, right? That's a pretty popular service. And if I do Lambda here, I can see I have this AWS Lambda, and I have a stream prefix of Lambda, and then I have actions, and then I have all this stuff here in my actions, which, let me just make sure I didn't corrupt this file. So let me just do it again. So again, I have my Lambda, the actions, and all these different actions, okay? So how am I able to pull out this information? So one thing I would do if I were looking at Lambda, I would just say, okay, well, let me just pull this out and this out. And I want to get this information. If you look here, it gives me a match, AWS Lambda, and then you have Lambda here. And then you're probably wondering, well, what do I need this for? Like, what's the whole reason of getting this? Because it should just be one Lambda, right? You would think. So Greengrass, I know, has two different versions. So in this case, Greengrass has the same stream prefix, Greengrass, but it has two versions, IoT Greengrass v2 and then AWS IoT Greengrass. Excuse me. So I don't want to limit myself by only getting one. I want to make sure I can get both. Maybe there's 3 versions, maybe there's 4 versions, maybe there's, however many versions AWS decides to put out. I want to pull in all of those different versions. So let's go back to the Lambda. All right. And here, where was it? So right here. So we want to pull out this information, like I said. So if I normally come in and read just, okay, well, I want to get all of this stuff. I can probably try something like this and say, okay, well, give me everything inside of these double quotes. But that's not going to work because Regex is normally really greedy, and it's going to keep saying, I'm going to get every character, including double quotes, up to the last double quote. That's not really what I want. So what I could do is this little trick here. I say everything except a double quote, which is inside the double quotes. And I'll just do a plus symbol. So at least one or more of these characters that's not a double quote inside the double quote. And then that points me to Lambda. And if I can do that there, I can do the same thing here. So I can say anything that's not a double quote that's going to go inside the double quote, at least one or more. So now I have all of the information that I'm looking for, and I have a lot. It's still going, and it's still going. 368 matches. So that's cool. I have my Amazon comprehend and then the comprehend here, but I don't want all this string prefix. I don't want these double quotes in there. I just want to get the values. So to get that, I can use capturing groups. Just put that there and do one more here. So now I have capturing groups. I still have the same number of results, which is 368, but now I have groups as well. So this is what I really want. I want this Amazon comprehend, I want this comprehend, I want this Amazon elastic file system, and I want this elastic file system. Almost like I just have like a long name and a short name. That's what we'll kind of call it for now. All right, so now that I have that, I can take this and put it into SED and start doing some really cool stuff. So what we have here is dmenu, and I use dmenu to basically allow me to select from a list, as you've already seen. So for this case, so I already have a shortcut that's going to allow me to run this very easily. So I'm going to just show you what it does. So now I have 1, 2, 3. See, I'm printing out 1, 2, and 3. A new line after 1, a new line after 2, a new line after 3. And then just piping it into create dmenu, and then it's sorting, and then basically putting out dmenu case insensitive when I'm trying to search, and then a list of 30, but this is only has 3. So that's pretty much dmenu in a nutshell. So now let's start using SED with that file to start getting stuff. And before I start, let me just show you that I have this whole policy file right here. That's everything that you saw here. It's already inside of a file. And this is normally how I update my file. Whenever I need to do an update, I just overwrite what's there, and this points to that location, and I'm able to update the file. Like if I decide to use it and I'm like, hey, I feel like AWS may have made an update, let me just get the latest file. So now let's start using SED. All right, so in this case, we're going to say SED, we're going to do a replace, we're going to come back here, copy this, because this is our regex that we need. And then we're going to use the file. This is my file right here, the policies file. And we also need to pipe this back into create dmenu. So now we're basically saying do a SED here and then pipe the result into create dmenu, which is here, which is going to start creating our list. So to do that, we do need to do a couple of things. We're going to do lowercase r dash. That flag means it's regex expanded. Oh no, sorry, extended regex. And basically what that is used for is to give you more of a regex feel. I forgot what it's called, but you don't have to worry about doing all of the backslashes and escape sequences and a bunch of other stuff that, you know, like it knows about the capturing groups, it knows about a bunch of other stuff. So basically regex extended acts more like what you're probably used to having regex do. So I normally always use regex extended if I'm doing something that requires a lot of regex. Okay, so, and we do need an escape sequence here because it's going to complain about this character right here. So now that we have that, so again, this is our regex. So we're saying take all of this, and then this is what we're going to replace it with. So we do know that we have capturing groups. We have the group 1 is going to be the short name, group 2 is going to be the long name. So what I would like to have is like short name with a pipe separating them, and then a long name. So we can say the short name is group 2. So that's 2. Well, that's 1. That's 2. And then the pipe, and then 1. To say that you're going to use a group, instead you need to do a backslash and then do the number of the group that you want to use. And I'm also going to make these go all on different lines, because right now the file is literally one long line. We want to start separating it into multi-line so it's easier to access. And just so I can know exactly what it is, I'm going to say service name equals SN equals the replacers for the groups that I'm going to put in there. And I need to add one more flag, which is G for global, because right now the file is one line. We need to go match, 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 and keep going. If I don't put the G, it's going to stop at the first match. We want it to match on everything. So if I did this correct, we should get some results. And right now, this is like all of the other random stuff that was printing. But if I do SN, now I'm starting to see the stuff that I want to look at. As you see here, SN, 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 SN. So now what I can do is just pipe that result into SED and just replace the SN equals anything inside of the parentheses is going to be our capturing group again. So SN equals, and right now the SN is on one line by itself. So anything after SN, I want to capture. And I just want to replace everything, the SN included, with the capturing group. And I don't need to do a global because at this case it's only one line. But I do want to do an in here, so just suppress all of the other random stuff that we were printing out. And then I want to do a P here to print the replacements that I'm doing here. So now if I do this, I also need to add this, so I can pipe it back into create dmenu. And then if I do this, now we're getting all the different things that we want. We have the service name, like the short name, and we have the long name. So now that we have that, let's do something else. So right here, we're saying service equals this dmenu service. So this is actually going to equal the selection that we choose, the service right there. So let's do something. Let's go in and try to, now we want to break those back up again. Like the short name and the long name, we're going to break it back up. So what we're going to say is, we can do something like, let's think here, how can we do this? We can do a cut. So let's say, okay, let's do this. So say long name equals, and then we're gonna say, we're gonna send whatever this value for service into this this little script that we're gonna do. So we're gonna say cut. The delimiter is going to be a pipe, and then the field is going to be field. The long name is group 1. So the long name, the long name on this side is on the, so we have the short name here and the long name. So this will be field 2 actually. So field 2, and then the short name will be field 1. And just to see what it prints out, let's just say echo long name. So we have the AWS app2 container. All this other stuff is fine for now because it just doesn't know what to do with that. And let's just try to print out the short name. Okay. And let's just do ACM so we can see something different. And we have ACM. Okay, so we're good there. So we're printing out the short name and the long name. Now what we need to do is basically use that file again to get all of these services. So we're going to actually be using the file twice. So I'm sorry, to get all of the actions. So to get the actions, let's just take a look at the file again. And we can see this is our file. So to get the actions, let's just go back to Lambda, right? If we were to do this, and the actions actually closes out here. So if we were to take this and paste it into here. Oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I need to escape this character because it doesn't know what I mean. So here it's pulling out this information, but what we really want to get is all of the actions. So we can kind of do something similar to what we've done before. So in this case, I'm going to go inside of here, and it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to say anything that's not a closing brace, a bracket, or whatever the name of that is. So it looks a little weird, but this is just the opening, and this is the closing, and then this is this thing that says anything that's not this. And then if I do my plus symbol again, we're still getting the actions here. And if I were to put this inside of a group, and I do this, these are all of the actions. So now we're able to see all of the actions. But of course, this doesn't work with everything because everything is not AWS Lambda and everything is just not Lambda. But the good thing is we already have that information when we pull out the services. This is like our long name and this is like our short name. So if we have that, we can take this, go back here and say, first let's say if the service that they chose is not empty, that's -n, so long as it's not empty, then we'll go ahead and start using SED. I just paste in what I copied from here. So in this case, we're going to say replace, so do S. Let's just do that here. And then do a extended regular expression again. And let's just say S, and we're going to substitute all of this stuff. And then this is our capturing group. And we don't care about anything after the capture, after we figure out what it is, and we don't care about anything before. Because in this case, we're only going to find it once. It's not like the services where we got to keep looking through and finding every single service. Once we get a match here, we're done. So what I can say is do a 1 here, and we don't need the G flag because at this point we don't need to do anything globally. So I do need to make some changes here. What I need to do here is, well, let's just try it real quick. First, let's see what it does. And that's going to be that. And let's also pipe this into dmenu. So we pick one, and oh, sorry, forgot to escape this character. I think that's what it's complaining about. All right, so good. We have our different actions, but of course you don't want our actions to look like this because we can't really pick from it. It's just a single line again. So what we can do, and also that's only for Lambda, so that's not gonna work. So what we can do is go ahead and change this to the long name and change this to the short name. So we do have one issue here, is that it doesn't know that this is a variable, and it doesn't know that short name is a variable. So what we got to do is, instead of using a single quote, use a double quote, and then it'll know. But we also got to go back and escape all of the double quotes. So first, let's just escape all of the double quotes. Let's say here, I should have did that easier, but it's fine. So we're going to substitute the double quote and then substitute it for an escape double quote. We got to use the escape sequence twice, and then we're going to do global because it's going to come up multiple times, and that is that. So now we have this here, escape, and what we want to do is do that, put a double quote here and put one here. So now we have the double quotes for our SED, and then we're actually replacing, doing a substitution. We have the long name, we have the short name. Now, we've already tested this out, but now we're just passing in the variables that we get back from what we select from our service, which is why we had to save the long name and short name. So now if I do this, it should work for anyone. So let's just try activate. Let's see, it's complaining about something. Said can't read. Oh, I didn't mean to do that one. That was a mistake. All right, so now let's try that one, activate. So we have the same here, same thing here. Now we're able to get it not just being a Lambda. So anyone that we choose, if we try a different one, let's say AOSS, and then see they're coming up differently. So we're getting the actions. Now we need to figure out how to separate these and put them line by line. So one thing I noticed, there's a comma that's separating each one. We can turn this comma into a new line very easily. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's just say SED let's say substitute the comma for a new line, and then it's going to be global as well, and we're still going to pipe that into create dmenu. So now if I run it, see, now we're getting here. So we're getting somewhere. We're almost there actually, but there's something missing because this get container drop details is not going to work. What we need it to look like is something like this. We need the EC2, and this is just the short name that we already had. So what we can do is say, if you look here, we can pretty much take this first quote, double quote, replace it with the short name. We'll replace this double quote with another double quote, the short name, and then a colon to break it apart when it's separated. And then we should be good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. So we're gonna say replace the double quote with a double quote again, and we're gonna do the short name, and we're gonna do a colon, and that should actually be it. We don't have to do global here. And then we're just gonna pipe it again, but we do need to do some replacers. So do that, and then because it does need to know about what the short name variable is. So now we're saying we're removing the commas, turning those commas into new lines. We've already seen that. And that's going to be globally because it is one line. And then now it's going to be individual lines. And we're going to say substitute the first, it needs to be first here. So the first, substitute the first on double quote with the double quote again, the short name, and then the colon to separate it. And let's see if that works. So now we have what we actually want. So the cool thing about this is I created a Vim mapping, which looks something like this. And this is also in my Git config, my Vim RC, which is on my GitHub, which you're able to go ahead and get if you want. And you can use the same thing if you want. And if you have dmenu set up, it works wonders. So the cool thing about this is, let's say, now that we have this file working, let's say I did something like this, a tester.json, right? And I went in here and let's say I copied this. And let's say I'm in here and I'm working. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to get some other action for this. And I have my shortcut and I say, okay, well, I'll look at something with EC2. And then I'll say, let's say associate IAM. Associate IAM something. Let's do that one. Oh, wait, one thing is not working here. I need to add one more pipe. So I'm gonna say trail, delete the last new line. I'm gonna take those back off. So now, let's say, pick something. Okay, there we go. So I just had to delete that last new line because my Vim mapping and script doesn't like that new line character. So now if I'm in here again, and I say I want to pick something, I can do this. Let's say I want to do that one. Let's say if I want to do something else, I say activate. Let's say get costs. All right. Let's say if I want to do something else, let's say I want to do app mesh, and then let's say create route. All right. And let's say I want to do API gateway. Let's do the version 2, and let's look at posts. And then the easy thing I can do with this is just format it. Wait, I didn't mean to add that there. Just format it, and I have my list, and I can just keep doing this, you know, for as many as I want. And now I have the easy way, again, to go ahead and look at the different ones. And even if you just want to use this just to see the different services and see the different things, it actually is pretty cool. And it's, like I said, it's really not that much code. when you think about it, and you're really parsing this big file. So that's pretty much all I have. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please go ahead and like and subscribe, only if you really want to like and subscribe. And other than that, peace out. Catch you next time.